I call Maureen Pugh.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. It is indeed a great privilege, even an honour, to stand in the third and final reading today of the Child Poverty Reduction Bill. And I pay tribute to all of the speakers today. As the Honourable Tracy Martin has said, very little politics involved in this debate. But I'd like to especially acknowledge the contribution of the Honourable Alfred Naro, who spoke about his humble upbringing and the situation that he experienced as a child. And I think there's quite a few of us in this House who come from similar backgrounds, myself being brought up in an old railway house with not a great deal of money, but in those days we were poor but happy. But there's no question that across this House we are all combined in our desire to bring our children of Aotearoa out of poverty, and this bill certainly sets the way for us to begin that journey. This is a bill of the whole Parliament, and I think this is an indication of where cross-party agreement actually does really good for New Zealand. This bill actually, as we've heard, sets on paper the direction of travel that the national government was on its journey towards in lifting 100,000 children out of poverty. And so the collaborative approach to getting this bill to its introduction, with the Prime Minister and the National Party leader Simon Bridges working very closely on some of the details that now form part of this bill that we are debating for the final time here today. So the issue of child poverty certainly transcends politics, and we on this side of the House are very supportive of the move to enshrine the measures that are now embedded in this bill into legislation. It gives it longevity and it gives it continuity across former governments into the future. And at the core of the bill, Madam Speaker, are our tamariki, our children of Aotearoa, the most vulnerable that are in our society. So if we are to build a nation of successful and competent people, then we must also begin with our children and ensure that they can function without the stresses of poverty. Now, as part of the Social Services and Community Select Committee visit to Australia earlier this year, we were very fortunate to learn about the value of having longitudinal data, and that data supports and guides decision-making. So in that study that is being undertaken in Australia, there are 10,000 families participating in the study. It's called Growing Up in Australia, and it began in 2004 and is still ongoing. It covers a range of issues, including health and physical development, social and emotional functioning, family circumstances and relationships, learning and cognitive development, and emerging adulthood. And one of the glaring results that has come out of that study already, Madam Speaker, is that the desire for children, the biggest priority that they had was to feel safe and to be loved. Now, Madam Speaker, the measures in this bill will actually give us some longitudinal data over time, and it will paint a picture for us. Now, lifting child poverty is not just about achieving a one-off target. It's actually about ensuring that the reduction in child poverty is sustainable. And we want to be able to hold ourselves up against other countries with low rates of child poverty, such as Finland, Denmark, Sweden and Norway. So this bill is not the end, it is merely the end of the beginning, and the real work and commitment into lifting our game for our children starts after the passage of this bill. We must continue to work towards building an economy that creates good-paying jobs and gets families off long-term welfare dependency. It is not all about the government continually throwing money at that issue. And we must also continue to support those who struggle with either health challenges, mental or physical, or with disability. And I acknowledge the work and commitment from Alfred Naro during the Select Committee process, supported by his National Party colleagues, where we were adamant that this bill also references New Zealand's commitment to our international treaties and conventions, and they are now forming part of this bill. I refer to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child and the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And I take this opportunity, Madam Speaker, to pay tribute and celebrate with Durham Gander and Joe Scholes of Greymouth, who have recently been recognised nationally with their Attitude ACC Employer Award, who employ staff with disabilities, and they now currently have 50% of their staff from the disability sector. So I congratulate you, Durham and Joe, and your team at BP Greymouth. But we also require this bill to set the legislative framework for lifting our children out of poverty. So this bill is in fact the what, and what we are looking forward to now is the result and the outcome of the child wellbeing strategy, which is the how. And that, Madam Speaker, is really the crux of the whole program towards lifting our children out of poverty. Parliament is taking a major step forward today in the passage of this bill, and I'd like to take this opportunity to wish all of the children in New Zealand a safe and very happy Christmas. I commend this bill to the House.
I call Marama Davidson.
Tēnā koutou. I think we all